Today, I want to talk about a really overlooked spiritual tool, something that can help your ascension, help your growth, it can help you adjust. And it's something that we often neglect within ourselves. And it's something that a lot of us either don't know the truth about, we don't know the history of it, and we just don't know how impactful it can be as it relates to the spiritual and the physical. May this find who it needs to find. May this be a breathtaking video, a groundbreaking video that will help you really hone in on some of the techniques that I'll be talking about in this video. And may it be the good of all, for the good of all and harm to none. So may this be for your highest good, because that's exactly what your highest good can always be. I'm talking about water today. We drink it, we shower with it, we bathe with it, but we don't know just how important water is. Water makes up 60 to 70% of the human body. Most things are made of water. Your nails, the strength of your nails depends on how hydrated it is. The strength of your hair depends on how hydrated it is. These things that we think of as just dry. Of course, we think about dry skin, dry eyes. We think about being dehydrated inside of our bodies, our organs, our blood. But literally everything contains water, contains moisture, contains hydration. And water is an element that is soft and flowy, but is so strong and impactful. A water drip over the years can pierce the strongest of minerals, of rocks. A river that encounters a boulder, the river will win. The river, little by little, will eat away at that boulder until there's nothing left. Because water always flows. Now, water does flow in the path of least resistance. But if water has to get through something, it will get through. But it does it slow and easy. It's not brash. It's not forceful. It just goes about things slow and easy. So, Bruce Lee, be like water. Be strong. Be fluid. Be flowing. But water is also unyielding. Water is also powerful. Water can be dangerous as well. But water is so necessary. It is necessary to life itself. Be like water. So not only is that a philosophical understanding, a metaphor, an analogy, and I know metaphors and analogies are different, but water is so fluid and flexible. It could be a metaphor, it could be an analogy, it could be a philosophical concept, a principle. You can apply all of that into your life. Water is so amazing. It is so great and it's so integral. I believe just as we are made of 60 to 70% of water, the earth as well is mostly made of oceans and rivers. Oceans that we do not know the depths of. There are seas within the sea. There are underground seas. There are underground waterfalls because of the principle of density, of how compact the water molecules are. And water, because water is water and water is of itself, water takes on the principles of the things that is put in it. So it is a medium. It enhances whatever is put in it. It takes on the shape, the molecular structure, the energetic principles of the things that is put in it. You look at lemon water versus soda. Soda is based upon water, but you put high fructose corn syrup and you put artificial dyes and things of that nature, it becomes a lot less healthy than putting something natural like lemon, cucumber, ginger, turmeric, teas. Water is ever fluid, ever changing. Water is the only substance in which, when it freezes, it actually expands instead of getting more compact. Water has such unique principles. When you're boiling water, water boils faster at a lower, when starting from a lower temperature than it does a high temperature. You would think that things will heat up faster, right? Like it'll boil faster. Buoyancy. You ever seen a spider just glide across the water? That's buoyancy and surface tension. That water is its own protective cocoon in a way. That it takes a certain amount of force to pierce water's surface tension. Which means it has an energetic barrier about itself. Isn't that really cool? So how can you use water in your spiritual practices besides the stay hydrated? Well, let's get deeper into the hydration. Let's get really, really deep into water. Water is programmable. Water, like I said, water holds things. Water is a medium. So just like it's a medium for the physical, it is a medium for the energetic. Talk to your water. There have been thousands, I don't know about thousands, it's been hundreds of studies, actually might have been, it's called cymatics, CYMATICS. And that's all about how frequency affects the molecular structure or the structure of water. Maybe not the molecular structure, because we're not changing water itself, but it leaves imprints in the water. So just like you look through a kaleidoscope and you see all of these beautiful symmetric geometric images, the same thing happens to water when you place certain frequencies around the water. It creates different patterns, very geometric, very what is it called? The divine seal. Why can't I think of it? Spirit help me. Spirit help me. Okay, basically, I think it might be called, I think I'm just saying it wrong, but sacred geometry. Thank you so much, Spirit. Sacred geometric patterns and shapes, where the ratios of the shapes and the way the shapes are presented are so divine, so miraculous, so perfect. Because remember, something that grows and evolves can't be perfect, but a shape, something that just is for the moment, something that's not quite changing, it's just a snapshot. It's perfect. The snapshots of the shapes, the arrangements, very much so play on sacred geometry. And sacred geometry is actually very important to be used as sigils. And maybe I'll do sigils on another thing. You can charge up different mediums, the air, water, fire, using sigils. So back to water. When you play certain frequencies, it absorbs these frequencies. There was also another scientific study in which there was 2 cups of water, and the scientists, they talked to the waters differently. One water, they was pouring all these positive affirmations, all this positive energy. You are great, you are wonderful, you are beautiful, you are smart, right? All of these uplifting phrases. They were speaking it directly into the water. And for another, they were bashing it, saying all types of negative and violent things. Water can okay, about that molecular structure. See, I know I be hitting on stuff. I know it. I take that shit back, because the molecular structure of the water does change. Water can be crystallized, which means its molecules are aligned in a straight pattern, whether that's diagonal. They're just aligned in a pattern. And unaligned, which means it's still water. It's still 2 oxygen, 1 hydrogen. H3O2, if you guys have ever heard of H3O2, which is the water that is present in natural substances such as fruit, vegetables, things that you get from the earth, bamboo sticks. That's H3O2. That is a molecular structure for water as well, because there's more than one way to make something. And that, with that molecular makeup, that is always aligned. And it's actually very powerful, very, just when you get natural water, when you get your water from natural substances like that, it has so much more benefits for your health. It's so much more conducive to hydration. It absorbs into your cells that much more easily. It's that much more programmable. It runs the whole gamut of benefits. It really does. You ever drink a bottle of water and you pee it right back out? Sometimes it's cleansing, but sometimes it's that your molecular structure, the molecular structure of the water, sometimes is unaligned. Your cells literally can't absorb it. It literally can't even absorb it. So yeah. So the molecular structure does change. So when they looked at the molecular structure of the 2 cups of water, one was crystallized, which means it's aligned. It was in a I don't want to say a linear shape, because it goes up, it goes down. I guess linear, because it's not really curving. The water molecules were in this linear pattern. But in the water in which they was talking negative to, it was all over the place. The molecular structure was so unaligned. It was so scattered. And that represents not only how you talk to yourself, the frequencies in which, so if you understand the principles of water and how water works, that will change your life, because you won't consume the things that you're usually consuming. You're someone who likes to watch a bunch of violent movies. Your eyes are made of water. Your body is made of water. Please don't be mistaken as to think that frequencies aren't being transferred to you. We just said how they were talking to the water. So let's also go to the brain study. Let's talk about how your brain works, which is your brain is made of water. Your brain is encapsulated by water. It's called cerebral spinal fluid. And it runs all up and down your back, which is your kundalini centers, your centers for energy. You break your spine, you start to lose function, right? You do your you get traumatic brain injuries, and all of a sudden you can't function. These are integral to you, just as much as your organs are. The spine can be considered an organ in and of itself. But it's a muscular structure, so, it doesn't really quite. But anyways, think of it like as an organ, as a spiritual organ. Where I was going with this is, no matter what you hear, no matter what you tell yourself, if you like to joke with yourself and say, negative things. I'm not going to do it because I understand the principle of it. If you like to joke with yourself and be like, oh yeah, I'm B-R-O-K. I'm not even going to spell it right. Oh yeah, I'm O-L with the three-letter word. I'm O-L. Then you start moving. Your brain literally doesn't know facts from fiction. When you talk to yourself, and sometimes when it hears certain things. So if you keep listening to music, especially when you identify with the people, especially when the people looks like you, come from your same genetic background, that's called a collective consciousness. This is why the music industry is so important. That's why people say the music industry is actively working against black people, because it is. Because some of the things you listen to, you can even say white people with rock. People who listen to rock versus people who listen to contemporary pop. People who listen to jazz versus people who listen to drill rap. Not only are they absorbing the frequency, so their mind is accepting all of the energetic imprints that the music is putting on. So if it's violence, all the physical principles. So if it's violence, if it's hate, if it's feeling like you always need to hustle, the hustle culture. If it's centering around sex and money, then you start to be centered around sex and money. As you focus on those things, that's where your energy goes. And that's what your brain starts to accept as true, because your brain doesn't know the difference between truth and fiction. It just absorbs it all. That's what the subconscious does. It just absorbs it all. And that's why it is so important to watch what you consume, because you are 60 to 70% water. And these energetic frequencies that is being emitted to you through cellular devices, through music. Music is nothing but frequency. It is pure frequency. So if you're listening to scattered frequency, violent frequency, low vibrational, that's why I think, you hear that's low vibrational, that's low vibrational. The reason why that's such a big thing is because it affects you on a deep cellular level. Water is necessary for your cells to operate. Air is also a medium, and that's why the radio stations in the predominantly black areas, Atlanta, Chicago, Baltimore, Philly, if you were to ever listen to the radio stations, they play trash. If it's radio accepted, they're more likely to play the violent, the hypersexualized music than they are the uplifting music. Even if that same song is popular, it's only if it's widely popular will they play that uplifting song. But more often than not, they will rather play a crazy song than they would uplifting one. And just turn on the radio station and you can see it for yourself. And why that's so important is because radios emit frequencies through the air. The air becomes a medium. So everyone who turns on, who has a radio station, they're picking up the signals that is literally being sent through the towers from these radio stations. That's why when you go a certain length away, it's all about the strength of it. It goes out. If you're living in the Baltimore area, you go too far, 92Q cuts out. You go too far up north, you can't hear 93.9, which is DC's radio station, which plays trash as well. So that's why it's saying, like, that's why people who really have done their research make comments like the black community really is still being systemically plotted against. Because the people who sign these artists are not our color. The people who runs the radio stations, who chooses what's being played, are not our color, are not even the color, but they don't have a stake in who we are. They don't have a stake in our prosperity. And actually, they would have reason to go against us as well. Well, what about the artists themselves? The artists themselves are sellouts, but let's not go too far to the left. There's positive, there's negative. There's positive music out there that a lot of people would be popular, but they don't promote it. So anyway, we're not talking about the media industry. Let's bring it back to the water. So that's why it's so important what you consume. So you're like, well, how do I combat this? Like, I live in an inner city. I live a place where, you know, the radio waves are going over. I live in a place where, you know, the music that I listen to, like right now, until I'm able to find music, I really like music, and the music I listen to is negative. Or, you know, some of the foods we eat impact our vibration negatively. You know, that's why a lot of spiritualists become vegan, because there is an understanding that, hey, if that animal died in fear, that fear gets trapped in the water. And not only does it get trapped in the muscles, because your frequency can solid objects like flesh and all of that, but even solid objects like flesh, like I say, your nails even have water running through them. So it's the water that's in these animals when they die. If they die in fear, which a lot of them do, animals are not as dumb as you think. Pigs, they start pooping a lot before they're slaughtered, because they know they're about to be slaughtered, and the way in which they're slaughtered, the violent way in which they're slaughtered, you're consuming that. Sorry, y'all, duty calls. You know, I have 2 little ones, so sometimes they need their mommy. Okay, so back to water. What was I saying? Because I love this conversation. Like, this is a really, really enriching and informational conversation. It is so important what you put into your body. It's so important to understand water, the water in your body, how it can be impacted. Let's talk about purified versus spring water, distilled versus spring water. Let's talk about reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis literally is such a harmful way to produce water, because it literally scripts the life. It brings crystallized water to a state of decrystallization, which means it's unaligned, it's scattered. And that's the water that you're drinking. And that's why when drinking purified and or distilled water, especially the ones that undergo reverse osmosis for your purified water, that's why sometimes you can drink it and drink it and drink it and you just pee it right on out, because the body cannot absorb it. The body doesn't want to absorb it. Your body has chakra systems. Your body has energy systems. Your body has its own way of crystallizing its own water. And if it can't do that, if it's not in harmony enough to do that, that's when you start to find that you develop disease of the body, diseases. The vibration, the molecular alignment, it's off, it's scattered. It's not working in harmony, it's not aligned. That's why crystals, people love crystals, because crystals can affect water. It can affect the alignment of water. Crystals carry its own frequency and vibration, and crystals are that. The difference between crystals and rocks, they're not just rocks. Rocks are unaligned. Rocks have a scattered pattern. But crystals, when you look at the molecular structure of crystals, they are uniform. That's the word. They're uniform. They're aligned. So crystals are also really good. You can place crystals next to your water. If it's safe, you can place crystals inside of your water, and you can use that. If purified and distilled water is your only means, if that's the only way, or even tap water, if that's your only means to receive water, because in these plants, the water cleaning facilities in which they produce tap water, they do that through reverse osmosis as well. So it's no better than, and plus it might got a little bit of extra depending on your pipes and where you live. So it might got a little bit of extra lead, extra this, extra that. Yeah, so you can place crystals within it to realign the molecular structure of your water. So what you're drinking really truly nourishes you, your spirit, your body, your energy. It helps to raise your vibration or even sustain your vibration instead of lowering it. And you're spending all of this subconscious energy trying to raise it back up just to a level where you can even operate. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about when you keep consuming, even it consumes you and you start being a product. That's why where you live is so important. People are emitting frequency and vibration all the time. So if there's an uptick in violence, that affects you too. We're all interconnected. It's all in the air. It's all in the vibration. Same way that when natural disasters happen and when wars happen, the overall morale of the whole world starts to go down. The vibration, the frequency starts to be lowered. Because yes, even though I'm way over here in America and somebody's way over there in Japan, when they dropped those nuclear bombs over there, it affected the whole world. Same way how whale poop way down in the seas near Africa, the oceans, the seas, is really, originally called seas. And the seas near Africa affects the ecosystem way up in Antarctica. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is simply transferred from one place to another, from one thing from another, from one form to another. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. So the negative energy that is produced in these situations, they have to go somewhere. And that's why transmutation is so important. You learning how to transmute negative energy into positive ones. But let's start with water. Let's start learning how to transmute our water from negative or neutral to positive, and then you can start working with the water within you. That's what affirmations are. When you look yourself in the mirror and say, I am beautiful, I am strong, I am smart, I am magnetic, I am divine, I am nature, I am iteration of nature, of power, of divinity itself. That's why it's so important to uplift yourself, because your water inside of your body starts to align, starts to crystallize. You start to vibrate higher. So, talk to your water. Talk to your water. Enrich your water. Place things inside of your water. And if you're having trouble believing all this, just start drinking more pure fruit juices. See if you can, that one's even more expensive. So I'm just trying to give you the cheapest ways possible. I'm going to give you all the ways, but I'm going to give you the cheapest ways because I am a firm believer that everyone deserves to have and aligned chakras, a beautiful life. Everyone deserves to be able to make their life better. No matter who they are, no matter what they look like, no matter how much money they make, because it's the average people like me and you, the information The information isn't given. Drink your chlorophyll water, okay? You know, Shorty Doo-Wop was talking about how it make you smell better because, you know what I'm saying, they be all in that low vibrational, you know what I'm saying, all they be a little loosey-goosey, so they be stanking. You'd be surprised at how many beauty influencers, these little Instagram models, how much they stank on the low skis. But on the high skis, because you talk about people who actually know them, they be like, yeah, they be musty, they be stanking, especially down there. So she was talking about chlorophyll water, how it make you smell better. No shade, because, you know what I'm saying, if you eat a lot of pork as a woman, you be stanking too, because pork is not right. That's why I don't eat pork. Anyways, little hygiene thing. It's all about the frequency and the vibrations. And you know, the water of the womb. It's the water. It's a lot of water here. Okay? A lot of liquid, a lot of water that runs through. And that's why the pHs, that's why, you know, they say eat pineapple juice if you want your love to taste sweet. You know, your juicy fruit to taste sweet. The juices of your fruit to taste sweet. You know what I'm saying? That's why they say eat pineapple, because pineapples are of a natural source. Pineapples, fruit, have a crystalline structure. They are H3O2 instead of H2O2. Not eat meat that sometimes have a low vibration. Not do this, not do that. Eat fruits. Eat from nature. Talk to your water. Uplift your water. I keep saying that over and over again, because you can program your water with certain things. If you have a goal that you are trying to reach, I want to quit smoking. I have the strength to quit smoking. I do not need weed. I do not. Specific, huh, y'all? Yeah, because I quit 6 months ago. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's been my longest stint, and I ain't never going back because I broke my little, you know what I'm saying? If you notice in addiction, there's a cap. If you've ever tried to quit and you've tried multiple times and you've unsuccessful, if you pay attention to the timeline, there's generally a time cap, a time limit. And that if you can break through that limit of whatever time that is, some maybe 3 months, mine was 3 months, some is 6 months, some is a year. Some people really have to be like diligent with it, because that's how deep their programming is. But you know what can maybe cut down on the time and help you break through those energetic limitations of time? Water. Water is timeless. Water exists beyond time. Water does not age. That's another thing, y'all. That's another thing. Ooh, say I am young, I am youthful. My joints work well. I am flexible. I am healthy. Speak that into your water. Drink it for 30 days. Do nothing else, and your health will improve. I promise you that. This is not some mumbo jumbo. She's going out on a limb. No, it is science. It is proven. It is energy. It is frequency. It is beyond science, because science is man's futile attempts to dumb down, especially modern science. It's man's futile attempt to constrain or constrict the infinite possibilities of the universe. This is why science often has theories that are wrong. Science often has facts that are dumbed down, and there's always exceptions to the facts, because they're trying to constrain infinite possibilities into something that is learnable, something that is concrete, something that is a fact, when there are no facts, really. So this will only work if you believe it works. I mean, it'll work regardless, but it ends up affecting you regardless, because water has its own memory. Water has memory. Water has its own consciousness. Okay, so bam, boom, boom. Bam, next point, say next point, say next point, because I love this. I love this. There's so much information about water, so many ways that water can just enrich your life. Water has memory. They is up there drilling in Antarctica now, and they talk about the different bacteria that's in water. No, you can even go deeper and look into the crystallization of the water, the different patterns of the water, the different properties that that water holds. You ever hear of going to South America and they got the healing waters? Going to Japan and they got these really beautiful crystal lakes and geysers. You ever heard of, so there's this little device, this ancient device where you pour your water in and it looks like a funnel and it spins your water in such a way, I think it's like clockwise, as the water goes down, it crystallizes your water. I bought one. I don't know. You ever heard of Ormus? I know, I was trying to think of what it's called, and I think the company might be called Way of Water. You can look it up. There's coils, there's different ways in which you can imprint your water with high vibrational energy. But water also has memory. This is what I was actually alluding to when I said that the imprint, the fear of when these animals are slaughtered gets stored in the water. And the juices, when you cook the juices and, oh, this meat is juicy, you're consuming that water, that same fear. It has not left. So you're consuming fear. You're consuming violence. Water has memory. Just like trees have memory. You cut open a tree, earth is a medium. Earth, water, fire, air, plasma energy too, because you know what I'm saying, but that's, you know what I'm saying, that's, you know what I'm saying. Plasma is really a thing, but you know what I'm saying. We're going to talk about the things we can work with. I mean, technically, solar flares, energy from the sun, that's plasma energy. But either way, anyway. And that's why you talk about codes coming through the plasma energy, coming through solar flares, the energetic codes that you get from the sun. I can go on and on and on about the different mediums. Maybe I'll do each one like one by one, because it is so expansive and it's so important to be able to understand. Oh, that's the cat trying to get out. I thought it was my babies again. So back to water. Water has memory. Water remembers. So same thing about those two cups. When they try to speak good into the cup that they was once speaking bad about. So, okay, so 30 days later, so they did that, and then they looked at the molecular structure of the two cups of water. They saw that this one was misaligned, it was scattered, it was all over the place, and this one was aligned. This one, you know, they were speaking positive affirmations, and then this one they were speaking negative affirmations. They were, you know what I'm saying, speaking negatively. They looked at it, day one, they came back 30 days later, and this one still had that same crystallized structure. And this one was still misaligned. So they thought, okay, well, I know that we can take two neutral waters and we can either make it worse or we can make it better, right? One crystallized, one aligned, one misaligned, unaligned. So they tried to see, well, can we make this one up like this one again? And that's talking about people, and that's even like, that goes to us. If we were abused as children, if you suffer from mental abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, they talk, you know, you talk about how emotions get trapped inside of your body. And a lot of times they get trapped, especially for women, inside of our hips. Why? What is on the same level as our hips? Our uterus. That contains the most water. That contains the most water. That's where the most water flows. That's our sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is literally responsible for our emotions. Water. Sacral chakra is represented by the element of water. It's all connected. This is spirituality. Isn't just mumbo jumbo. Spirituality the different elements that are associated with different chakras and different things of that nature. It's also called the Swasthistana. Swasthistana. I could spell it, but you know. They aren't just randomly picked. These are deep, deep philosophical energy centers, energy points, principles. That is very important. That relates spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So back to water. They see whether they could raise the vibration. It took so long. Like once that water, they had spoke that negativity, I think it took them like 30 days. They came back after 30 days, but I think it either took them 30 days or like 60 days. It took them like a really long time. You guys can look it up for yourself. You know, maybe maybe it's off, because maybe, no, they did come back, and that one was still, so maybe it was 30 days. It took 30 days for them to bring that one in alignment with this one, but this one was still crystallized. So maybe it was all in once instead of like two separate occasions of, either way, you can get the correct details of it, but the overall concept and principle was that it took them a really long time to crystallize and speak positive affirmations to where the water crystallized in that water in which they talk down to. So that's why it's so important for you to watch what you consume, watch what you tell yourself, because the work that it takes to undo it, and you can think of that as trauma. The work that it takes to undo trauma, it's possible. That's the first and foremost, okay? That's the victory there, okay? I know I sounded down when I said it. I should have been happy. It can be done. Whatever you think about yourself, whatever you've been told about yourself, you can't make it, you can't do it, you'll never amount to this, you'll never amount to that, you're too much, you're too this, you can reverse it. But be careful of what you are consuming yourself, what you are pouring into yourself, because it takes a lot of effort. They spent one day or maybe 30, I don't know how long they spent talking into the cups. It took twice as that amount, at least twice the amount of time they spent speaking into the cups to get them to that vibrational alignment than it did to raise the vibration of this one. It took them so long to get the one where they were talking bad to you to a state of crystallization. It took them so long. They did it, but it took them long. It took them a really long time. So those of you who are in abusive relationships, even if it's just emotional abuse, sometimes we stay because it's like, well, we're not getting hit on. I know such and such that's getting physical abuse. Emotional abuse, mental abuse can be just as damaging. You look at people who are physically abused and you're like, well, you know, it is good, great, be grateful, right? But it isn't necessarily easier for you. And that's the damage of narcissistic relationships, of growing up in narcissistic households and growing up with emotionally absent parents. I grew up with a narcissistic parent and emotionally absent parent. And the number that they did on me, takes years to undo, but it's undoable because I'm here. But you know, sometimes I used to think, sometimes we can be gaslit because I had a significant partner who actually went through some physical abuse. And I used to always look at his life as being like harder in some way because I got the physical too. Actually, you get to thinking about it. You know, I get the blanket shit out and I'd be like, ooh, anyway. Because the mind will protect you. That's the ego. The ego will protect you. So if something's too overwhelming, if you feel like physical abuse is really like the most harming thing, and you actually went through physical abuse, you'll actually have spots in your childhood memory that you don't remember, because it's just too much for your brain to process, your conscious brain to process. But best believe that subconscious is holding on to all that. Your body, the water inside of you, look, jiggle, jiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Is holding on to all of that. Wiggle, then the jiggle, we're seeing. When the jiggle, when the wiggle, when the jiggle, we're seeing. I'm sorry, I think I just had to lighten the mood. Wiggle when they jiggle, we're seeing. You know, wiggle when they jiggle, when the wiggle, we're seeing. Because it got heavy a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We got to pump, 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 pump it up. And let it go. So anyways, yes, 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 it takes a long time, but you can do it. And now that you know, water has memory, water has energetic frequency, water has its own consciousness, okay? Water is powerful. Now you know some of the other things about water, because, let's get into the things. Now you can equip yourself better, right? Now that you equip yourself better, let's talk about some other ways besides talking to your water, programming your water with these awesome frequencies, these awesome programs, these awesome affirmations, you know, that'll help you to heal yourself, that you will start to absorb it. It'll start to become part of your belief system. It'll start to become part of your energetic makeup. Now let's talk about spiritual baths. How you can program your water for spiritual baths. How you can, you know, set an intention. Whenever you're getting into the shower, you can set the intention. This water is cleansing me. This water is cleansing all the spiritual debris, all the energetic debris that I picked up over the day. You know, all the projections. Now, that doesn't mean you can go into the muck and then just think that you're going to take a shower, you know, and just cleans it off like dirt. It's not quite, you know, but if you are exposed to things that you can't control, you know, you can't help that you're around that coworker who just emits negativity. You just can't, especially if you are an empath, which means you absorb the energy around you very frequently. You're very sensitive to energies. You can detect frequencies and energies very easily. You tend to absorb it. It's very important for you too, to not just think that you can just go into the muck. I don't go into crowds like that. I really don't like going out like that. I have to watch who I'm around. If I'm around a certain vibration, a certain person, especially if they don't have any, if they have ill intentions for me, I'll start to feel sick. I'll start to feel ill. I'll start to get a headache. That's the water in my body reacting. But you can talk to your spiritual water. Talk to your water. It was this woman who, when I first woke up, I used to listen to, and she had first told me about spiritual baths, Dr. Mumbai. And she was saying, you know, you speak your intentions into the water for your spiritual bath, and you let it sit for 9 minutes. Why 9? Because 9 is the highest actual physical number, because once you get to 10, it's just a repeat of 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. But the highest number itself, the highest single digit, the highest actual numerical number, the highest, not numerical number, but the highest, you guys get what I'm trying to say, is 9. 9 is the highest. 9 is a number of completion. That's why in Naruto you got the 9-tailed dragon. That's why Zoro got the 9, what is it? It's the 3-head demon, but he has like 9-sword demon, 3-sword, whatever, but it's like 9 of them. It's like 9 swords, or whatever the case may be. That's why 9 pops up in some of these, in a lot of religious ancient texts, It's about the number 9. It's really significant. 666, carbon. You know, they call that the devils, but it's literally 6 neutrons, 6 protons, 6 electrons. And 6 plus 6 plus 6 in numerology, you add them up, they're 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. So that reduces to the number 9, the highest number. And that is what us carbonated beings, and that's what melanated beings too, they have like a special relation with the number 9, because we're filled up with so much melanin, which is an offshoot of chlorophyll, which is an offshoot of carbon. We're just filled with it. And maybe that holds an energetic frequency, or maybe we're able to look, I'm not getting into that right now. I ain't getting into that right now. Because I'm not going to say in a molecular structure. It's like, I know y'all like, I know you're not trying to say on a molecular structure, y'all better. I'm not like, you must believe, like, we're all human. I'm not. Like, maybe we can hold certain frequencies easier, better, with ease. I don't know. I mean, I kind of know, but it's irrelevant. It's truly irrelevant, because when exposed to bad frequencies, we all fall, we all tumble, we're all human. This was a really long video, but it was filled with good information. Program your spiritual baths. Talk to your water. Watch what you consume. Watch what you eat. There's so many different ways. There's the trio of coils. What is it called? The sacred coil. You know, the different coils that you can put on your water. You could put different geometric stickers on your water bottle. Drink water out of copper. That helps to align your water. Put gold, silver inside of your water. Oh, if you put silver rings, I remember the silver ring. Oh, you place them in like these little copper, you place your water in these little copper circles that's made with like the golden ratio, and that aligns your water. It's so many different ways to crystallize your water and bring your water literally back to life. Consciousness enters, energy enters. So I hope this helps. Please share, like, subscribe. If you guys like this content, if you found it helpful, it really helps to get the content out. It really helps other people to see it. I believe that this is meant for the whole world. So I believe that this is just going to be seen, because there's so much information, and I feel like I really am a vessel for the truth. I feel like I am such a great energetic vessel, because maybe you wouldn't expect it from me, and maybe sometimes you need to hear things from people who you wouldn't expect. I am very young. I'm still in my 20s, so maybe that goes to aid. Maybe you're looking at me like, dang, she ain't know nothing, but dang, she actually knows something. Maybe it's the color of my skin. Maybe it's the arrangement of my features, because I have the way I look isn't very commercialized. That's not a word, but I didn't say it right. But y'all get what I mean. I don't have a very mainstream look, but I'm still very powerful and magnetic, and maybe that's what you guys need to hear. I am a very ancient being. I'm gonna go ahead and pop my stuff. I have a very, ancient bloodline. I come from a lot of, okay, I don't even know all that, but I hope this helps.